Kā tu tā bezpersoniski vari fotografēt bez cilvēkiem? Tādas bildes var dabūt.
Video.
So in 2006 this town celebrated its 800th anniversary, but that of course doesn't mean that 800 years there was already a town established. Like they mark the birth of every town from the first year when it's mentioned in any kind of chronicles. And so 1,000 years ago this territory was wild and inhabited by some pagan tribes. But as you know, 13th century, time of crusades in Europe, and the 1206 was the year when the first German priest arrived in this area and baptized the local pagans who lived here. And 1 year later he was followed by Crusader order for the necessities of which a stone castle was built here. And so slowly a town started to grow around the castle, as it's a normal situation in medieval times, and in the 14th century already this place was recognized as a town, and its medieval name was Wenden. And so medieval age is the age when Cēsis for almost all the period was the capital of the Livonian order country, which consisted of territories now the territories of Latvia and Estonia. And so as Cēsis is kind of geographically in the middle, it was the capital, and so our castle was the residence of the master of this order, and therefore like the first man of the country, you might now call president or something. And in the 16th century the New Ages came, and a few wars surfaced, and Livonian order was destroyed. And then for a few centuries on, the ruling power was switched from one side to another. Like for about 20 years Poles took the rule, then for about 100 years Swedes ruled here, then for about many hundred years until the 20th century all of the territory was a part of the Russian Empire, of course. And you know what, of course, this kind of long and bright period has given the stone both, like, you know, flourishing periods and decline periods, and we are about to get punished with the rain, I see. The German family I mentioned you up there, and so this is like the most popular relaxing and entertainment place in Cēsis. Well, daily just like a place where you can walk around the pond, feed some ducks, and have a little time of silent romance. But sometimes, right in this spot where this outdoor stage is made out, during the summertime there are also different kinds of concerts, festivities, celebrations, operas, theater festivals, and so on and so forth. And this is one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful outdoor stages in Latvia, just because of it has the background of the old castle behind it.
Go on!
And on this side you can see something you can call like the very starting point of any civilization in here. In Latvian we call it Riekstukalns, so straight translation to English would be nut hill, because that's the hill on top of which the first citizens who lived here, small pagan tribes, had their wooden fortification. And you can see that what you can see on top of there is not really wooden, and that's because when German crusaders first arrived here, at first they settled down in that wooden castle, of the pagan wooden castle, and they built some kind of stone fortifications around it, but they understood that it was too narrow for them and it was there also too unsafe, and so they started to build the stone castle on the opposite side of the valley. But of course, to get in the shape the castle has now, it took about 300 years. So it was rebuilt and renewed several times. And so it took the current state, approximate current state, of course, only about 16th century.
And moved to Libya.
Yeah, that's the best. Century, and they built it for a long time. Well, like they finished it for the first time already after 30 years, but then they had idea that they needed bigger and stronger, and then again, and it got this shape, as I told you, only in the beginning of the 16th century. But the first thing I need to do before I start anything to tell you about this castle is to destroy any kind of wrong notions you probably have about castles. Because I don't know whether it's the case of you too, but usually when people hear word castle, their first associations are kings, princesses, gorgeous dresses and outfits and courts and great huge parties and so on and so forth. But as to these kind of castles, that is all complete rubbish. That is what concerns the word palace, and you know, the palace of Versailles, the palace of Sherborne, the palace of Buckingham, and so on. But castle is usually this kind of thing that is that serves for two purposes. It's a fortress and it's a monastery. Usually these kind of castles were built by crusaders all around Europe to spread the word of Christianity to all kinds of directions, to north and east and so on.